Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Center for Renewable Energy Advanced Technological Education webinar program. My name is Ken Walls. I'm the principal investigator for the Create Energy Center, and we're going to be joined today by my good friend and colleague, Joe Sarubi from the Interstate Renewable Energy Council to talk a little bit about career mapping and some career map tools for the renewable energy industry. Before we get started, just a little bit of details and housekeeping. I'll give us a little bit of an introduction, and maybe while we're waiting for other folks to tune in, I will give you a little bit of a trivia quiz here while we're waiting for folks to join on in honor of Arbor Day, which is we're right in the midst of. In the spring of 1907. Who issued an Arbor Day proclamation to the School of the Children of the United States? And the choices there are Aldo Leopold, John Muir, Gifford Pinchot, Theodore Roosevelt, or Mark Twain. So while we're waiting for other folks to sign on, you can see if you can puzzle out that quiz question. A few details while we're getting ready on the call. I will note, first of all, I'm broadcasting from my backyard office. I have a 1-year-old inside taking a nap. So if you hear birds tweeting in the background, or if you hear airplanes flying overhead, you can blame that on me. We have a National Guard unit that's doing some practice exercises today, and we heard a few of the F-16s flying overhead during the warm-ups. So I will try and mute my mic in that interest. We'll ask the same thing from the participants. If you can keep your mics and your video muted while the speakers are presenting, that'll just make the whole exercise go smoother. We'll also ask you to hold your questions until after the end of the presentation. If you have a question while we're going along, you're welcome to type it in the chat box, and you can either send that to the room, or if you prefer, you can send it to me privately. I'll keep track of the questions while Joe is speaking, and then try and consolidate them for him to discuss, and we'll have some time for Q&A at the end. So with all of those sort of housekeeping details out of the way, I can share with you the answer to the trivia quiz. In 1907, it was our former President Theodore Roosevelt that issued the Arbor Day Proclamation. You may be aware Theodore Roosevelt also established the U.S. Forest Service around the same time. So kind of nice bit of trivia to honor Arbor Day, and hopefully everybody gets a chance while you're spending this time at home to maybe plant a tree this spring. So let me transition to introducing today's speaker. Joe Sarubi is with us today. Joe is a member of the National Visiting Committee for the Create Center. He has worked for a number of years in the renewable energy field, both as an instructor and administrator at two-year technical colleges, running the renewable energy program at Hudson Valley Community College. Also has been with the Interstate Renewable Energy Council and worked with the Solar Foundation over the years. And he is going to share with us today some information about some solar career map tools that Joe was involved in the development of and continues to work with yet today. So Joe, let me turn it over to you. I will stop sharing my screen, let you take over the controls, and I'll mute my mic.
Sounds great, Ken. All right, hold on. We're going to share, but I'm going to stop sharing a second. Give me 1 second, folks. I realized I needed to play from the start, not where I was. Okay, so I'm going to go back in and share my screen, and we'll get this thing rolling. All right, can everybody see my screen? Ken or Abby, can you let me know?
Yep, you're good, Joe. You're good.
Wonderful. You can hear me okay. Excellent. Thank you. All right. So again, welcome, folks. Thank you for agreeing to participate during this. I'm excited to talk about career maps in general. I'm going to be showing you a couple. for me, career maps, I think, are a wonderful tool, and used right, I think they can be very effective. So let's start moving. And to me, webinar objectives in this process: understand the value of career maps, especially for exploring jobs. And when we talk about evolving industries, solar, wind, geothermal, and others, it's a great way because most people don't really know all the different jobs that are out there. We're going to talk about how we can use them for recruitment and retention. So we'll go through a little discovery phase there too. And then how best to use the map, things that I've done in the past with myself, other instructors, and we'll also get a chance to see something that Ken later on will show that he's been able to do with an activity. So to me, that's the general premise of what we're doing here today. So let's get started. Two maps that were developed by the Interstate Renewable Energy Council, and yes, I was intimately involved with both. As a matter of fact, the solar career map on the left, that was led by Dr. Sarah White. I was heavily involved with that. It was under the Solar Instructor Training Network initiative through Sunshot back then, which I was a program manager. We went through 3 iterations of that particular map to the current iteration that we see right now. And then California Community College Chancellor's Office asked us to develop one for the HVAC industry, or careers in climate control technology. I was the main architect on that particular one, and my another member with IREC, Mary Lawrence, project coordinator, was heavily involved with developing that with me as well. So those will be the 2 that will bounce around as we move forward. All right. So again, getting into the value of career maps, yeah, certainly a broad audience: educators, career advisors, workforce professionals, guidance counselors, policymakers, and of course, students. So when you have an opportunity to address that broad of an audience with a career map based on their particular needs, to me, that's where a tool like this is extremely valuable. And if it's targeted right, well worth the investment to get one off the ground. For us, it was important to make sure that the career map had a lot of information. Once people start getting into it and doing a deeper dive, important to have a place where resources are there to allow them to stay on that particular website with the map without having to go out and go to other resources. So to us, we felt that that was really, really important to kind of keep them going. And the analytics show that the people who get on it stay on it for a little while, which more than, I guess, the average for Google Analytics, which we were excited about. So we feel that that's a valuable part of it as well. It was important for us to make sure that we had the right subject matter experts reviewing the job titles, the detail of the information, and most importantly, the advancement routes, the career paths that you would see a particular employee go through their career. So while we did initial vetting of information, it was shared with subject matter experts across the solar industry, and again for the other one we did in the HVAC industry, to make sure that it was relevant and that we had the best jobs available for the jobs that seemed to be most needed by industry at that particular time. If everybody remembers the green buzz, right? So you want to get into solar. That's, again, these evolving industries, you know, most people, you know, especially wanting to do something in the green industry, said, yeah, I want to do something, but I really don't know what to do. I don't know what the jobs are. And so that's what makes this kind of career mapping really valuable, because people might have a lot of skill sets in a particular area that overlaps well with the particular solar job, and maybe with some minor training where they can upskill themselves and on-ramp at a particular level, whether it be entry, mid-level, or even advanced. This gives them a chance to see the skill sets that are there, and what they might already have in their personal tool belt, and figuring out how do they get themselves into the industry in that area. So again, another area that we think is very valuable. And I think what's really nice is it does give them a chance to see, wow, if I start here in this particular area, I get to go into a number of different jobs that I never even realized there was a possibility. So continuing down this value road we're going, we believe, and I'll be a little biased here in this, but of the career maps that are out there, we believe the ones developed by IRAC are the most interactive, engaging, and certainly intuitive. We were very fortunate that we had and still have a web designer who knew how to make it very engaging, and the opportunity to also make it intuitive, which allows people to kind of just jump into it and follow through the process. The normal questions that would be asked, if you had somebody there, this map will kind of lead you right in that particular direction. And knowing, especially with today's generation, the interactiveness of having something graphically pleasing becomes important to keep people involved. The other advantage, obviously, of career maps is what are the jobs? And I'm going to talk about careers in climate control technology for a quick second here. When you think about the HVAC and R for refrigeration industry, what's the job that conjures up in your thoughts? A lot of times it's the truck that pulls up in front of your house, a technician gets out, grabs a toolbox, maybe some meters and some hoses or whatever, gauges, and comes to your house, whether you've got an air conditioning issue or a heating issue. All right, and that's when you think of the HVAC industry, you think, okay, that's kind of the first job that comes to your mind, because that's usually where we are exposed to that part of the industry. And for the most part, whether it be residential, commercial, a lot of people don't think about all the other jobs that might be around this particular industry sector that people could aspire to, and how their particular skill sets might fit into those particular roles or jobs. So to me, that's the other advantage of career mapping. It shows a sector that somebody may never have thought of, that they would want to get a job in that area, and then find out, wow, this is pretty cool. I can really use my skill sets and gain some more skill, and then have a lot of opportunity to grow within an industry that seems pretty exciting. I think the other cool part, again, is the advancement routes. I will tell you, when we presented the Careers in Climate Control Technology out in California to the California Community College Occupational Education Association, I think I got that right. And again, it was California Chancellor's Office who gave us the resources to build this particular map. We had about 60 people in the room. And when I clicked on the first box during the PowerPoint, there was a collective gasp in the room when people saw all the advancement routes. And I'll tell you, my PowerPoint presentation went right out the window at that point, because people were raising their hands, asking a million questions, and basically I kind of covered everything right then and there that I would have done in my PowerPoint anyway. So, but it was great. And a lot of them were counselors and educators who were just like, oh my God, this is an opportunity for me to really share some great news about a particular industry with students. So another thing that we did with the HVAC, or the Careers in Climate Control Technology map, that we didn't get a chance to do with the solar career map, was develop a promotional video. And everything that I kind of talked about for the last few minutes is in that promotional video. I'll show you where that is when we go live. It's 3 minutes, so basically everything I said is covered in very succinctly in 3 minutes. So if you were to just wanted somebody to jump into this, you said, here, sit down, let them look at the promotional video, because it kind of walks you through the process, and it's great. It just gives you a little, it's like a little quick self-help. So we built that into this particular career map, and we think it's quite valuable. Okay, so how do we use career maps? I'm going to talk about 3 different areas: student recruitment, career guidance, and then job recruitment and retention. And we'll start with student recruitment. Some of the obvious places, open houses, career days, any type of one-on-one advisement. To me, obviously, these are the areas that I was able to take full advantage of, with career mapping. When I was back at the college, I didn't have the type of digital, an animation of career mapping that we have right now. I actually did something similar. We called them job trees. Myself and other instructors made them up, and we used to talk to students about career paths through these job trees. Now we've got great graphics, which is wonderful. So we used to do it where in an open house, whether you had a whole group of students together, where you're sitting them down going over a particular program as a whole, and then you give them an opportunity to get on the computer and look at the different jobs, or you actually bring it up yourself and show them the different jobs as you're presenting about that particular program. Or it could be a one-on-one. Many opportunities where students would come in with their parents or a significant other and just want to know about that particular program, and to be able to sit down with them and show them the opportunities within that particular job sector or industry sector was really valuable. So to me, open houses can be great. Certainly career days at, for example, high schools, and the opportunity, if it was a career day where you had to set up a booth, I would even recommend bringing 2 or 3 different computers where you had it up and running, where students can come over and get engaged. I always found that when you had a couple students gathered around a computer, it is intriguing for others to see what are they doing. And next thing you know, you've got an audience there. And the opportunity for them to run through it, because we also know sometimes students are afraid to ask questions. So it gives you a chance to kind of do that little almost one-on-one with them during that moment. But if not, the one-on-one advisement, to me, that's where you can get really intimate with the student and ask some critical questions, get a better feel for where they are. And if you're, for example, a guidance counselor, and the opportunity to be able to just sit down with them and talk about what will work best for them. But to me, just to be able to get them into that program, showing what they are doing already and how their particular skill sets would fit well with all these different jobs, I think can be very valuable. I will say, of all this, probably to me, this is as important as anything I'll tell you, if not the most important. And that is real life stories. The opportunity to sit in front of students or students and parents and talk about a particular student who started in a program, for example, if it's a 2-year degree program, and talk about former students and where they went and what kind of money they made, and where they are. I know a lot of instructors over the years, students come back and talk to them so happy about what they're doing right now and how well they've succeeded outside of that particular program. To be able to share real stories, to me, make a big difference. When I was living in upstate New York, teaching at Hudson Valley Community College, a lot of our students went to work for National Grid and go in as a lineman, a substation mechanic, or might even start out as a meter reader and move up through the ranks. But to be able to talk about how after 3 to 5 years, those students were making over $100,000 with some of the overtime that they got, especially during some of those tough winter storms. Even when parents are hearing that, they're like, wow, my child can do that with a 2-year degree. Another quick story about a student who got a job at Universal Studio and went down there just out of a whim on spring break and went in and talked to them with his resume and got hired on the spot. And he ended up working on the ET attraction. And he ended up sending me a picture of him with his arm around the ET and a coffee mug from Universal Studios. And it's fun when you get to share those stories, then it gives people a chance to kind of see themselves in that place. So having those stories brings reality and a real tangibility to it. So I think that's important. And If you're a guidance counselor where you weren't teaching, there's a number of people who might have gone in that path anyway that you got to know. And I still think that those are the stories that you want to kind of cling on to, because they become important for, you hate to use the word selling, but it's more of getting the students to understand that there's some great opportunities out there. And just as important as providing a vision, right? It's really getting that student to see themselves in that role. And the more they do, the more they get excited, and the more they're going to either want to join a particular program, or if they're at a one-stop where they are, trying to retrain themselves, and just get back on track. It could be a veteran who, again, just got out of service and trying to figure out what are those next steps. The more you can provide that vision, then the better off you'll be with landing them as a recruitment tool for students coming into a particular program. Career guidance. We kind of look at this as career GPS, right? We all use our career map. We all use our GPS depending upon where we are and where we're looking to go. And to me, that's exactly what this is all about. Students come in with skill sets. And so if, again, I could be a veteran who did 1 or 2 terms, in the military, trying to figure out what those next steps are. There's a lot of skills that overlap and translate or transition into a degree program or certificate program, and the opportunity to show them, where they are and how they can on-ramp and say, okay, you are here. You've already got these skill sets. All right, let's take a look at these other jobs and what do you need to do to get to that point, and help them just navigate that process. And again, why we call career GPS, because that's exactly what you're doing. And what the map is doing, it's providing that kind of career navigation for moving forward. I used to coach a lot of sports. My 4 kids, all in their 30s, my daughters tell me all the time, Dad, you're our life coach. And to me, I think that's what a lot of this is as well. You are coaching, you're providing that vision, you're trying to help them. That's why they came in for that guidance, and also to become informed, learn about opportunities. But you almost have to kind of up-coach them a little bit, say, yeah, you can do this, you can make this happen. And when you have a career map that shows all these alternative routes, job opportunities, the types of money that somebody can make in this particular area, that's helping give them a vision to say, you're right, I can do this. I think I can do this. And the one stop for resources, I mentioned that before. Once you get them excited about it, the opportunity to know that that career map has a page out there loaded with resources that will give them a chance to do a deeper dive. And that's what you want. You want them to take it to the next step without having to go out and look at a lot of resources or try to find resources and become frustrated. We did our best to put what we felt the most important resources needed to that particular career map on the map itself. All right, and then what's great is research projects. You're going to learn, Ken and another person from Madison developed a great activity about exploring jobs. So here's another way where you can use the map, where you get people to do a deeper dive and start checking things out. And when I'm done with my presentation, Ken is actually going to show the activity that was created through Create. And it's wonderful. I've had a chance to go through it, and I thought, what a great way to take advantage of the career map and going even into a deeper dive. So moving on. Now, job recruitment, if you're an employer, and depending upon who's on the call or who actually might listen to this particular later, again, to me, you know, and I got a picture of a typical career day, right, where you could be either a company or a college looking to talk to high school students, whatever, having 2 or 3 different computers on your table, maybe even a flyer there for them to take with them that has the actual logon information and some basic information about the career map to either the program you're trying to get them into or the job. To me, these kind of career days are an opportunity to really utilize career maps in a whole nother way. So especially for companies. What's really nice too is that even though the career map tool might be more generic for students, a company can say, well, yeah, now you see these advancement routes? Students who come and work for us, while there's these other opportunities, a lot of them like to go down this path with our particular company. And we'll show that, right, where through one of the advancement routes. So you can get very specific, even though it's more generic. You take advantage of what's there to be able to lead them down that path and then talk about what they would need to do and how long a particular student who was hired in the company at entry level went from entry level to mid or mid to advanced within that specific industry. So again, companies can really take advantage of these career maps to help recruit. What I didn't mention as well, career maps also help with retention. Sometimes students who got a job at a particular company, after a while feel like they've, you know, kind of plateaued or reached the level that there's nowhere else to go. But the career map is an opportunity for them to say, wow, if I want to go into this particular area, then, you know, here's what I need to do and the steps to take to get there and to potentially stay with the company just by getting themselves upskilled a little bit more. The other advantage, if you're a job recruiter, is, to me, bringing a former graduate with you to, you know, from who's working for your company now. Truly, they become the best salesperson for that job. First of all, chances are they're younger and they can relate with the students at that point and kind of talk with them in sidebars and what have you about, you know, the company and things of that nature. But what gets them to the table a lot of times is that career map up there on the computer, and then having, again, a former graduate to just kind of take it to the next level, I think really bodes well. And it was very successful for a lot of companies that we worked with at the college as well. So there's a lot of quick information, folks. What I'm going to do is bring us to the map, go live for a second. So I am going to actually stop sharing and then reshare. And
Joe, since we're about halfway through, would this be a good time to launch that poll to find out who we have for participants online?
Oh yeah, Ken, that would be great. Why don't we do that?
Let me see if I can throw it out there. Are you
right.
able to see the poll at this point now?
Yes, I see it.
All right, so participants can go ahead and click on the poll and enter a little bit about who they might be and what role they might have at their particular job. Still got a few more clicks coming through here. I'll share the results here on the screen so we can get a look. It looks like we've mostly got teachers on the line and maybe a job seeker or two.
Great.
I'll turn it back over to you there, Joe. You can try and get the live screen going.
Thanks. So why am I having Ken Waltz on there? Let me see if I can get out there. Wow, I lost my other one. All right, we'll start. Excuse me one second, folks. I'm going to, oh yeah, here we are. Give me one. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yep, we got it, Joe. We can see
Beautiful.
the HVAC map. Perfect.
Sorry, folks. I had left it in a different position, so I need to get it back to the main screen. So to us folks, all right, so here we are live, and if you've had a chance to play with it, great, but if you haven't, you know, again, things like color make a difference. Careers in climate control technology, we kind of went with the hues of blue for AC and red and orange for warmth. We'll see with the solar career map, we went with brighter yellow, orangey kind of colors. To me, getting to this map, up on the top, we see the resources that are available along this particular bar. I'm going to go to about this career map first. And if you see where my cursor is, watch the promotional video. I'm not going to have us do that at this particular point, but to me, it's a great little video that just kind of gives you a little sense about the whole career map as a whole. And let me go back. What's nice is that about this map also gets into just the generics about the map and how it was developed, and you know why we did what we did when we put this together. So I won't spend a lot of time on that. Let me slide my screen up a little bit. What was neat too is with this particular career map, this one has 5 different, what I call ribbons, the 5 different shaded areas as opposed to solar career map that had 4. And this goes back to, again, working with subject matter experts because they felt that it was important to separate residential from commercial HVAC and refrigeration sectors, just because the jobs are extremely different in a lot of different ways. So I said that was a great call, and so we did that, and that's again where the industry validation comes into play. But to me, again, if you were to click a particular job, just doing what I'm doing right now, highlighting over each one of the jobs and watching the names come up. If I was to pick a particular one and then click it, and it shows the different advancement routes, what's great, it gives a little synopsis, you know, as far as what that job is about. We're going to go into a little bit more detail here, but what's really neat too, if you were to hover over any advancement line, it also gives a little bit of detail of what you might need to get to that level. Just a quick little snippet of information, which just helps somebody if they were like, oh boy, yeah, I'd like to go over in that particular area, or that job sounds, geez, I want to become an instructor. What would I need to do? Well, all of a sudden it's like, probably going to need a bachelor's degree in a particular area. Not necessarily, but maybe. So then the nice part is you click the job detail. And to me, this is what makes the map really exciting too. It gives that general in large font, little kind of snippet, but then does a deeper dive into what this particular job is all about. And folks, the one for the HVAC industry, because it was done for California, was built on a salary range that was in the mid part of California, around the San Francisco area. Working with the subject matter experts out there, that greater area, the salary ranges are a little higher than what you might find in other parts of the country. At least this gives a general idea of where and the type of money that somebody can make over a period of time with, you know, just as a, you know, automation, you know, systems technician. Gets into the required education, preferred education, work experience, and then the skills and requirements. And please know, all this information was built off a lot of research on job boards, a number of different job boards, and we came up with the kind of conclusion of what the majority of that particular job entailed based on what a lot of employers were looking for. So we felt pretty comfortable that the opportunity to stay relevant is big because of the different job boards that this information was culled. And then it also still gives us advancement routes that you would see on the other page. So without having to go back out, anybody who's viewing this map could go to the different particular jobs, and I'm just hovering over them and just what it might involve. But also if I go to it and if I click it, it takes me right to that particular job. And again, just very intuitive, which is really nice. And so, you know, we got a picture that's, you know, tries to be as representative as about it as possible. I'll go to energy analyst. And again, these are pictures that kind of, you know, again, pictures worth 1,000 words, but it gives us the opportunity to, you know, just allow anybody to navigate and say, wow, these are all the different jobs that I could eventually aspire to. So I'm going to go back to the career map right now. And of course, today everybody's interested in getting a green job. And so we thought that was important to have on this map. So when you click it, all the jobs that come up, you can see with the little green ring around it to give you a sense that these were the jobs that were identified by the subject matter experts as green. An argument could be made in the HVAC and refrigeration industry that all these jobs are green in some capacity. But the goal was to highlight the ones that seemed to be the most obvious. And again, we thought that was important. There's a little bit of a blurb about each one of these, you know, how these things were developed. And what's really nice too is I could go over to the side and click down and see, you know, the bar and see all the jobs that are listed and go to each one of them individually over here. And as I highlight over, notice the bubbles. As I move down the left-hand pane, each one of them shows up and it shows what sector it's in. And I think that's great as well. It's very intuitive, very engaging. And so you're clicking a particular area and it's like, oh, so that particular job, oh, that's in that section. This one, oh, that's in design and engineering. What's that all about? I'd like to get into engineering. And, you know, so I just think for us, the intuitiveness is important. What we also did is we talked with the subject matter experts of some sample routes that if somebody was to start in a particular area, and we came up with 5 of them, one to represent each one of the areas. So the first one is, if I was a student who started out in the residential sector and I wanted to move to commercial, what would be a typical path that somebody would take to get there? If I wanted to get into sales and marketing or start in sales and marketing, where could I go from there? If I wanted to automatic controls. And what's really nice is it shows folks the opportunity, like they don't have to stay in one particular sector within the industry. There's opportunities across multiple sectors. And these are jobs that the SMEs said, hey, these are a pretty characteristic of where you could go within the industry. And so to us, we thought that was valuable. Again, trying to paint that picture or create a vision. So if we go back up to the toolbar here about the industry, there's a great blurb about these different careers. And what's really nice too is within this particular area, we've got videos. Here's a day in a life as an HVAC technician that students can go in and have fun with. But in each one of these particular sections, and I'll take automated controls, for example, I can click that one, and there's another set of detailed information. So again, our thought was, how much information can we provide without making it stale or make it, you know, to where it was difficult to navigate. To me, with the little plus signs, it gives them a chance to get some quick information at their fingertips and have fun with it. So we were excited about that. So now we've also got training. Because this particular one was built for California, it gets into, you know, how long does it take to go down this path? What type of, you know, education do you need? And then it lists a number of links to different, you know, the community colleges areas. And then for the HVAC industry, what we also did for them is we identified all the HVAC programs in California that have an HVAC program. So each one of these are hot linkable that would bring you right to the particular school. Again, the goal was, how do we keep them on the page to get the information that they need based on the region that they're in without having to leave this particular website and somewhere else. And then, of course, a resources page. And, you know, we always felt it was important to have something for veterans, as we have more and more veterans transitioning from military life to civilian life. Where's their opportunity, and where can they, utilize their skills, and especially for matching their military experience. And there's a lot of crossover that they'll find out based on their skill sets. And then again, industry resources for them to learn about all the different certifications or associations out there. And because again, this one was California centric, we focused on California resources in this particular area that would also be beneficial for them. And then lastly, a FAQ area, like for example, why only 40 jobs? Well, first of all, it's hard to identify every job. Secondly, if you put 70, 80 bubbles on those screens, it would just be a blur and it would not be pleasing or intuitive. So again, this goes back to some of the science behind websites and how do you make them attractive enough to where people want to stay with it and stay engaged. And we found that 40 was the maximum number that we could actually put on the screen and still keep it engaging. And to us, they were the 40 most relevant jobs based on talking with these SMEs. But so you get the idea, right? And so there's labor market information, education and training, and how the MAP organization, just questions that we thought would be typical questions that somebody might ask. We tried to make it as simple as possible. So if I was to shift over to the solar career map real quick. Again, folks, now we're down to 4 ribbons, different sectors, kind of same idea. While we don't have green jobs, back when this was developed, the Department of Energy was really keen on veterans jobs. So we highlight that, and again, you can see the different jobs that typically would align with a lot of the skills that veterans coming out of the military would have. And so it's great for them. And again, going to the resources page, there's a whole big section for veterans jobs. But the overall layout of the map is consistent, which again, when you think about this being the 3rd iteration of the solar career map, we actually copied this one to develop the HVAC map. I guess I could say right now what's interesting, might get myself in trouble, but we are on the verge of coming to contract right now with the Department of Energy. IREC is for developing an energy efficiency career map. And we're hoping to kickstart that this month. So we're really excited about the opportunity to get one for energy efficiency off the ground as well. So with that, I've been talking a lot. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to turn it back over to Ken, and Ken, you could show your activity, which I think would be great, and then open up for questions.
All right, that sounds great, Joe. Let me see if I can bring up my screen. We'll switch over here. Let's see. Go over here. Just a moment. There we go. We've been working with these career maps for quite a number of years here in Wisconsin since the first solar one was developed. Joe mentioned Sarah White was one of the creators there. She was actually an advisor for the creation of our renewable energy program at Madison College. And over the years, we've developed some lessons to use with students based around these tools. So I thought it'd be useful to direct folks to the Create website where you can obtain these resources. I think most people on the call probably are aware of our website address, which is just www.createenergy.org. And if you go beneath our logo there, just to the right, you'll see a tab for teaching materials. When you click on that link, it'll ask you for an email address and a zip code so that we can do some tracking. And then it'll bring you to a page where we have all of the lessons and curriculum that have been developed by Create. This particular lesson is number 8 on the list. And I just copied a little piece of the list here to include on the screen. Just to give you a little bit of an idea, what we've done for each of the lessons that Create has is there is a student handout where it's appropriate, there's a teacher's instructor's guide and an answer key for the lessons that need answer keys. And then each of them is also cross-listed with the Department of Energy literacy standards and the next generation science standards to make it easy for a teacher to incorporate into their curriculum. So we're going to take a look at this lesson number 8 here, exploring a job in the energy industry. All of the create lessons, the first page of the lesson has a little disclaimer here about the open source nature of the material. All of the create materials are published using the Creative Commons copyright license. And that basically just says that you are free to share and to edit and adapt to these lessons however you like, as long as you don't attempt to sell them. You're welcome to do to modify them, remix, or build upon them to customize them for your own purposes. And you can delete this page from the file once you've read it and seen that information. Here you can see the lesson that has been developed, and I give a lot of credit to my 2 colleagues, Joel Shoemaker, who has been doing this activity with his students in his solar class for a number of years, and Scott Litticoat from Green Bay Southwest High School, who's been using this with his high school students and also spent a lot of time getting this lesson nicely organized for sharing with other people and typed up in a nice sort of professional format to make it easy to integrate. If you look at the start of the lesson on the left there, we have the links to the 2 career maps that Joe showed you, the HVAC and the solar career map, as well as 2 other career maps for bioenergy and for wind energy. I will say, if you're using the HVAC and the solar career map, you'll find that those 2 are very similar. They have sort of the same user interface, the same sort of interaction and functionality for the user. The other 2 career maps on bioenergy and wind were developed by separate teams through the Department of Energy. I would say they are similar in spirit, but not necessarily identical in their functionality. So just be aware there's a little bit of differences between them, but you can find the same sort of core information if you're using those tools. The way this lesson is designed is it gets students doing some research on the internet and then writing about the information that they find. We've tasked them with writing an introduction paragraph and a summary paragraph, and then they can choose to write about 2 out of 4 other topics related to the career. So either writing about the compensation, the qualifications necessary for the career, the job demands, or the career advancement pathways. My colleague Scott did a really nice job sort of putting together some questions to prompt students to look for information on the internet to help them assemble those paragraphs. So when you look on the second page there, you can see he's got bullet points for each of the introduction and summary paragraphs, as well as bullet points for them to address for each of those 4 topics, depending on whichever 2 they might choose to address in their essay. So this makes for a nice, easy lesson that teachers can assign to their students and incorporate in their curriculum. And then I'll just show real quick here. These are the cross-listing documents for the teaching standards. So we've gone through all of the Department of Energy literacy standards and pull out the ones that are relevant for this lesson, as well as for the next generation science standards. So if you're working on integrating those into a curriculum, that should make it easy for you to do so. While we're talking about the Create website, I just mentioned a few other things while we're there. If you're visiting the Create website, I'd encourage you to join our mailing list. There's a little green tab up in the upper right. You can sign up for it there. You'll get notifications about all of our future webinars and programming, and any future lessons that we release will be advertised through our email list. While you're on the website, if you click under the Publications tab, the Publications tab will take you to a page that contains recordings of all of our past Create webinars. And today's presentation is being recorded. The slides will be posted there, so you'll be able to access those. Just a couple other webinars that you may be interested on that we've done in the last few months. A week ago, we had Professor Greg Nemeth talking about how solar became cheap. And that webinar is available for viewing. He recently authored a book on that topic. In February, we had Mark Hansen talking about the solar schools of the future. He recently authored a book called The Inevitable Solar School. Both of those might be webinars that you are interested in sharing with your students. And then in the last couple of months, we've also released some webinars on energy storage as well that my colleagues, who I mentioned, Joel Shoemaker and Scott Litticoat, presented. And there's lessons to go with those on our teaching materials page as well. So I'd really encourage you to check those out and feel welcome to share those. You can direct students to the webinar links so that they can view them as part of your course. I will also mention that we have 2 upcoming webinars. 2 weeks from now, we'll have a program with Kevin Cooper from Indian River State College and James Auld from NextEra Energy. They'll be talking about the clean energy workforce amidst the COVID-19 coronavirus epidemic. And coming up later this month, we'll have a group from Purdue University who will be giving a webinar on a virtual wind simulator tool that they've developed for teaching online about wind energy. Again, if you sign up for our email listserv, you'll get notifications about those webinars as well as information about how to register when those are available. So with that, I think we can transition. And first, we'd say thank you to everyone for taking time out of their day for attending. And just open it up for if anybody has questions for Joe.
And by the way, that first slide and last slide had pictures of sunrises where I'm from, down in Boca Raton, Florida, and that's a typical morning, getting a chance to run down towards the beach and get to see that sun come up. It's always a beautiful day.
That is a beautiful view. I envy you, Joe. I'm trying to get back over to the chat box here to see if we've had any more questions come across. I'm having trouble navigating to that, so I can't actually see the chat box. Maybe Gabby can let us know if she's seen anything come over. My screen's kind of frozen up at the moment here, Joe. I apologize. Yeah. Maybe I can ask you a question, Joe, because I'm kind of curious. Have you any firsthand experience with using these tools at say a trade show or a job fair or anything like that with students, or can you give us any anecdotes of employers that have done so?
I've heard from my faculty back at Hudson Valley in the HVAC program that they were able to take advantage of it for some of the things that I mentioned earlier around, the open houses. And the good news is their enrollment has been phenomenal. So they haven't had to go out as they had in the past to participate in high school career days. But I know another instructor, that's why I was one of the instructors there, is doing some activities in their classroom around the career map. And so I was anxious when I got a chance to see yours that you and Joel and Scott put together, that if you don't mind me sharing, to be able to say, hey, here's another example. But yeah, what I'm hearing, and even from some of the people in California, when they got a chance to first see this, they got excited, and some of them actually sent emails saying, loving it, loving the opportunity to just share it with our students. So I didn't have an opportunity to do a deep dive with them, but the feedback has been excellent so far. And again, I would say based on the Google Analytics and the fact that we are above average for the amount of time spent on the website makes me think that people are getting engaged in it, which is good. And going back, that was the other big thing. Going back to it, you saw, the same visitors going back, which was great. Yeah.
This is Gabby here. We do have one question on the chat. The question is that it seems like this is a tool that one would not want to duplicate, but are you thinking about possibly other industries, like maybe telecom, pharmaceuticals, or medical devices? And that their point being that there was a lot of effort involved, obviously, so why reinvent, that you could continue to build for a broader community?
Yeah, it's a great question. I guess I would say we're open for business in the sense that building it out correctly, you know, is not cheap. But you know, because you've got to get the right SMEs together. But the good part is we've got a lot of the wireframing already complete for this type of development of career maps. And we are going to be developing, we're at the goal line for finishing our paperwork with the Department of Energy, anticipating that we'll be starting to develop one for energy efficiency, which will be great. We're also talking with the utility industry, and we are talking with the semiconductor industry right now as other potential options. So to your point, you're absolutely right. It's a matter of getting this kind of tool in the decision makers' hands to say, yes, we'd love to work with you on building this out. And certainly with IREC, we'd be happy to do it.
Yeah, and Joe, I would say you're totally welcome to share the Create lesson with any folks thinking about developing another career map too. You know, our goal is to broadcast that widely, and I think my colleague Scott did a really nice job of putting together some good prompt questions for the students to give it a lot more structure than what Joel and I had done at Madison College. So it's way more polished than what I've used with my students in the past. But even the crude lessons that I've done with my renewable energy students, the students found it incredibly valuable. That's the nice thing about these tools is they don't really need a lot of instruction to figure out how they use them. Once they've got it open and on the screen and start pointing and clicking with the mouse, you know, they kind of direct themselves and just start digging for information. You don't need to give them a lot of direction for most students.
Yep, agree. I think it was great. I'm looking forward to sharing it for sure, Ken.
Well, we're at the end of our time here today, so I will thank you again, Joe, for joining us today, and thanks for our participants for joining us on the webinar. And I think the most important thing is to wish everybody that they all stay healthy, stay safe, and stay well. And we hope to see you on a future Create webinar in the weeks and months ahead.
Great. Me too. Folks, thank you so much for giving me a chance to share this. We're very, very excited and passionate about these career maps.
Thank you,
Everybody.
everyone.
Thanks, folks.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.